Hi and welcome to Recapify. In a universe where gods and goddesses rule supreme over rulers, a young man sets out to find the truth about his identity after discovering his bloodline. He seeks Gaia's oracle to reveal his origin, his adventure with gods, kings, and ambitious people to begin. A young mercenary awakens in a vast cave, his feet encased in archaic wooden stalks. When he looks around, he notices multiple dismembered feet. He then notices the one-eyed Cyclops honing a boomerang-shaped weapon. So he feverishly tries to unlock the wooden stalks. When he fails, he persuades Cyclops that he has come to assist him. As commanded by Gaia, the mother goddess, the giant ignores him. So he yells its name, and the Cyclops responds by opening his lips and enclosing his eye. He hurls his sling towards the blade, yanking it from the giant's grasp. He throws the blade, and Cyclops struggles to grab it, severing 2 of his fingers in the process. The monster screams in agony as the mercenary grabs the blade and manages to break free. He deceives the giant so that he can explore the cave in search of something. Then he hears women's cries and comes across 3 of them, a young lady, a middle-aged woman, and an old lady. April claims he is coming to save Gaia Oracle, but they all claim to be the Oracle. In Athens, King Aegis orders General Dion to switch their strategy to a bold attack, regardless of the general's arguments for their soldiers' weariness and outnumbering. The king orders him to put an end to them. Then no one, because the Athenians are twice as powerful. Once the generals step out, Queen Medea warns King Aegis that he is directing his rage at the wrong people. The king wants the queen to complete her task, but she informs him that their son is similar to us, as useless. King Aegis informs Medea that their son's language is like a puzzle, and she must decipher his vision in order to win. When Lyco lies on a table and his blood drips into a dish, Medea begins the ceremony. The lad loses unconscious and repeats incomprehensible visions, but the queen slaps him awake. The queen gets irritated, complains about her son's uselessness, and then dismisses him. She attempts to interpret anything she can from her son's blood, but nothing comes up, so she throws the bowl angrily. Meanwhile, the mercenary advises the woman to flee when the behemoth appears. He lets the giant chase him until he reaches the cliff's edge, at which point Cyclo charges at him. He leaps, and it follows. Because his feet were fastened to a stone by the cliff, the mercenary survived. He and the women soon flee the cave. Hurley, the young lady, exits as soon as they leave, claiming she is not the oracle. He follows the young lady after realizing she is the true oracle. On the other hand, the battle is underway, and the Athenians are losing. General Dion and King Aegis join the battle, yet the monarch is overcome with the realization that arrows reign over them. Yet Aegis is helpless until an arrow hits it. Meanwhile, the mercenary grabs the oracle and travels to Gaia's temple. The woman persuaded him to let her go, claiming that the priests would end his life. Upon their return, he asks the oracle why she escaped, and she responds that she's being beaten and defiled, which he doesn't believe. She shows him a vision to persuade him. She claims he is not a mercenary and that his name is cursed. Something dreadful will happen to her if she shouts his name. Anybody who mentions his name will be turned to stone, according to the man. The oracle requests that he release her because she has proven herself. Suddenly, 2 wild men enter and demand leave the oracle. The young man introduces himself as a marshal sent by Gaia's priest, and that the woman should not suffer any harm. Yet, the 2 assault at the same time. One of the men, while the other wild men and the marshal are fighting ferociously, Theo takes the oracle away. The marshal strangles and suffocates the enemy with its sling. He chases after Theo, but the footprints vanish. Meanwhile, the palace is in disarray as a result of King Aegis's injury. Queen Medea looks after him while Lord Pallas, Aegis's brother, rushes over to inquire on the king's status with General Dion. When Medea's medicines arrive, Xerxes sees the princess instead of her assistant, Alexa Priest. Mentor is the one who brings them in, causing Medea to become restless in the jungle. The oracle tends to Theo's wounds. The man expresses his willingness to accompany the woman, but she refuses since she does not want to hurt him. The oracle proclaims that her mission is what the gods want her to do alone and heads to her destination. She comes to a halt when she sees visions of an eagle, a woman, and a warrior. Before she can recover, the marshal arrives and kidnaps her once more. If Medea successfully treats the king in the palace. On the other side, the palace approaches Dion to tell him that his life may be in danger as well. Following that, Diane tells Medea about the palace's threats. The queen reassures him. Diane, on the other hand, grows concerned that Pallas is aware of his true relationship with Medea. The queen concludes the conversation by comforting the general by embracing him. The marshal, on the other hand, questions the woman about how she escaped the dangerous man. She explains that because the man was weak, she fled. Unfortunately, the marshal notices her deception. She admits that Theo is her brother and that the other man is a friend of his. They were on their way to save her when they ran across him. As a result, they improvise. The martial drags will resume their voyage in Athens' palace. Medea realizes that the monarch is already anticipating the arrival of the general. She persuades him to relax and prevents the generals from approaching him. She does, however, notice a new face, who Diane informs is Captain Eros. The queen is unaware of who he is training, but she is aware that he is the general's bodyguard. She declares herself to be in charge of the palace's affairs while the king is recovering and dismisses the man in the desert. As Theo jabs him with a poison needle, the marshal collapses. The oracle removes the poison and slaps him hard to wake him up. The siblings assist him in getting to his feet, but he refuses, causing him to collapse. He soon finds himself tired and alone in the middle of the desert. The oracle tells Theo to quit tagging that evening, long as they bicker. The marshal arrives. Soon later, the siblings are brought back to the palace sanctuary's temple. Dion and Eros meet Medea, and the queen reveals how she discovered that the arrow that struck the king was not from the Menino family. She adds that the real enemy is near the king like A. This charge infuriates Diane, so Medea clarifies that it isn't him, but rather someone who is usually with him, because Pallas knows the general is a coward who will hire a bodyguard. Horus charged towards Medea after hearing the conspiracy notion, but it's a mirror. The next day, he attacks the real queen, steps behind him, and stabs him. King Aegis convened a meeting of the generals. Medea comes to a halt and hands him his medication. Upon chugging it, he falls and Medea assists him to his bed. All the while, Alexa watches secretly. Afterward, the queen attends the generals' meeting and hands them some drink. Then she explains how an assassination attempted by someone close to the king who was prevented. She commences a toast, and after seeing everyone drink, she announces that the accomplices is still here. Pallas becomes nervous, but then Diane collapses and dies from poison. The queen proclaims that now that the traitor is gone, and since the king is weak, the army will be led by Lyco's priest. Xerxes offers us loyalty and praises the queen, so the others follow even. On the other hand, the marshal, the oracle, and Theo finally arrive at the temple of Gaia. The head priest, Cyrus, commands him to tie the woman to Gaia's mouth. Then the marshal kneels to ask for a vision. The oracle becomes very surprised to know that he's here for a vision, since he can ask her when they first met. And the man explains that the priest says it's only possible in the temple. The oracle declares that the mouth of Gaia only helps with the vision's accuracy. Priest Cyrus urges the oracle to give the vision, so she steps onto the mouth of Gaia. The marshal asks why he's brought up in hiding, and the truth creeps into the oracle's mind. She explains that the man's father is King Oz, and being the firstborn son, he has the lexicon inside. He inquires what it is, so Priest Cyrus explains that it leads to the door of Olympus. Any mortal who can go there will also be a gun. The son of HS releases the oracle and declares they're leaving. The priest offers him to stay basking in luxury in exchange for sharing his dreams. Otherwise, he'll face imprisonment and beatings. Suddenly, two priests appear and attack them. They manage to push one of them off the cliff, but Theo gets cornered, so the priest warrants them to surrender or the lamb. The oracle pleads with the prince, so he lets go of his weapon. However, one of the priests slashes Theo's neck and his sister weeps at his death. Afterward, Priest Cyrus ties the son of Ages onto the mouth of Gaia as his blood drips on the brass bowl. Every vision he has is blood, writes it like a canvas. The priest decodes his visions as the sacred ring and insists the young man to tell its location. The prince declares he doesn't know where it is and sees a beast in his vision snarling at him. Priest Cyrus decides to make him bleed more for a clearer vision, but the oracle stops him, saying that she'll take his seed. Instead of risking the man's life and losing the lexicon forever, the oracle acts seductively towards the prince, so the priests avoid. Upon seeing that the priests aren't looking, the oracle uses her hair accessory to unbound the prince secretly. However, Priest Cyrus gets alerted and turns at them just when the two tumble to the ground. The oracle and the prince fight the priest, while Priest Cyrus escapes. Finally, the oracle avenges her brother as she slashes the priest's neck in Athens. Medea calms Commander's son to remove his armor. She explains that his job is to report everything to her and he shouldn't do anything. Lyco argues that he has plenty of ideas to share, but the queen sternly reminds him of his duty to unlock the lexicon. Soon after, the assembly begins and the generals discuss war strategies. Suddenly, Pallas asks Lycus what to do, and he suggests that they use the regiment from thieves to trick the enemies as they swap soldiers. Xerxes encourages Lyco, and Pallas agrees with his plan, despite General Pro's objections. On the other hand, King Is demands meet with the generals again, but Queen Medea stops him. She asked about his plans only to discover that Is wants to open the gates and fight the Menino ones blindly. The king of Athens is prepared to sacrifice everyone's life as he believes it's the honorable way. Upon hearing this, Medea offers subtonic, but he refuses, so she volunteers to put on his. However, she purposely locks it tightly to weaken him again. She assists him back on the bend and he drinks them. Soon after, he falls asleep and the queen leaves. Meanwhile, the unknown prince declares he's returning home to the forest of Train. The woman persuades him to go to Athens instead, highlighting how powerful the lexicon is and how he can make anyone a god. The prince asks her if she wants to be a god, and Oracle denies it vehemently. She proclaims that she wants to save Athens and stop the war. The prince sarcastically summarizes the situation, emphasizing the danger that the woman wants him. Their argument is interrupted when a man riding a flying machine crashes into the forest near them, and the two run to a dome in the palace sanctuary. Priest Cyrus informs Medea about the king's real firstborn son. As the queen is enraged, the priest volunteers to find the unknown prince, but Medea commands him to partner with one of his most trusted men, Cora. Soon the group begins to chase after the kings first. Afterward, Medea wakes Aggs and confronts him fiercely about his firstborn son. The queen angrily slaps the monarch and confirms that Ais knows the lexicon is not with Lycos because he already gave it to someone else. The king explains that the lexicon is a curse of a beast, and he has to give it away, especially as he hadn't known Medea back then, which could guide them with its powers. Ages pleads the drink as he's extremely parched, so Medea gives him. The king asks her why he can't stand and how long he has been sleeping. So the queen answers that it hasn't been long, and she needs more time and space to move. Aegis realizes too late that his weakening is Medea plan as he collapses on the bed. On the other hand, the unknown prince and the oracle tried to help the older man Dais, but he walks through the cliff's edge. The older man jumps off the cliff, but the prince and the oracle stop. Soon, the article realizes that the man is Daedalus, the genius inventor. The group's bickering stops when Cyrus and Chorus appears at the opposite cliff. Daedalus thinks they're Mino's men, so they hardly leave in the palace. Medea visits Lycos to ask about the assembly, but he lies, saying he follows her direction. Simultaneously, the Minnow ones climb the walls of Athens for an ambush, but the Athenians subdue them easily following Lycos' strategy. Afterward, Pallas congratulates Lycos for the effective strategy and encourages them to participate in the meetings more. Meanwhile, the oracle prays for Gaia to help convincing the unknown prince to return to Athens, but visions flash her seeing that the prince's destiny is to end his father's life. Afterward, she sees the prince drawing the symbol of the ring of the Magi. Days arrives, and the two inquire if he knows where. The young man denies knowing anything about the ring. However, due to Delicious and the oracle's explanation of how powerful the ring is and how tempting it is to understand what it does, the prince later admits that it's located in the Forest of Time. The oracle realizes he wants to return home to claim the ring and present it to his father as proof of his identity. Dedalo gets shocked to know that he's the firstborn of Aggs and the woman is an oracle. The woman proclaims that they have to stick together since it's their fate to be with each other, and Dedalus convinces the young man to comply. So the three commence their journey. On the other hand, Cora sends a raven to Medea to notify her that they have lost track of the prince. With this, she summons the siren. Simultaneously, Pallas hands over a blade as a gift and persuades Lyco to sit on the king's throne. However, they're interrupted when General Prot arrives with a young man as a sacrifice for Ares, the god of war. The general removes the robes of the young man and instructs Lycos to stab him straight in the heart, but the prince stares at the man from head to toe and runs away. The men become puzzled by his reaction, and Pallas explains that it seems that the prince realizes that he wants to embrace the young man. Instead, Pallas follows Lycos and presents him with a young scribe Cammon. The uncle hints that the man will be loyal to the prince and obey his every command. Pallas then commences Cammon to greet Lycos with a kiss as he leaves them. Meanwhile, the unknown prince runs away from his companions, but he gets hypnotized by Medea Siren. The young man follows the siren until Daedalus tackles him, and the oracle punches him unconscious to break the enchantment, since if he continues, he'll be sent to Hades, the god of the underworld. Because of the failure, Medea approaches Pallas to ask for men to secretly pursue the king's firstborn, but he firmly says that the soldiers are under Lyco's command. So the queen goes to her son. She sees Lycos enthusiastically meeting with the generals, and despite a request to speak with them, she's. On the other hand, Ares is firstborn with his companions, arrives at a cliff where segregated platforms of land are the only way to cross below. It is a river of magma. As a result, he warns them to leave him alone. The two persistent coming, so they all jump onto the platforms, but the prince miscalculates his jump and hangs on for dear life. The oracle and Daedalus rushed in for help. When the young man manages to climb, he notices the time has stopped and the surroundings have turned. The beast he saw previously seemed irritated that the young man is looking for him. The beast strangles the prince and threatens him. Then everything in the palace returns to normal. Medea interprets a white dove as proof that the choir has located the king's firstborn. Then she goes to Lycus' room. She discovers her son cheerful in the presence of cause, and we instantly like us as war. The prince informs his mother that things are improving. Medea, on the other hand, firmly warns him that the court would believe they are better off without the king. When they do, the monarchy will be in trouble. Following that, Lyco knows that he has finally earned Medea's respect for the first time. On the other hand, the unknown prince, the oracle and Daedalus arrive hundreds of feet above the ground at the edge of a huge hand statue.